folks, welcome back into the Financial Safari. Now, this is the time of the show where I go out across the world and I talk to people who are making a difference, and this week is no exception. Matter of fact, this week I'm very excited to have Miss Van Eure on. Now, if you've heard that name, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but Van is the owner of the Angus Barn here in Raleigh. Van, welcome in.
Thank you so much, Coach. It's such a pleasure.
I've seen you a lot over the years in your restaurant.
Well, and I appreciate that very much. You are a familiar face around there, and everybody there loves you.
No, I love everybody there. And so I love the food, too. The food is really good, and anyone who hadn't been to the Angus Barn needs to check it out. But, Van, I go there all times of the year, all different days, and it's crowded all the time, so I think you're not a secret anymore.
Well, I think you've discovered some of our little places that used to be a secret, too, like our meat locker and our fire pit.
Yeah.
And places like that.
Now the meat locker is inside outside, so technically it's listed as outside, right? So
yes, well it's for smoking.
Smoking cigars.
When they changed the smoking law in North Carolina, all of my smokers were going, "What are we going to do?" And I was like, "Oh, don't worry, I got a place." Of course, I didn't have a place. I'm like, "What am I going to do?" So I took an old room that was a meat room and turned it into a cigar bar, but. Then, of course, everyone back there wants to order dinner, and so, of course, we do full menu back there, and now it's ended up where you can go as fancy as the wine cellar or as relaxed as the meat locker. So
me and Marty Hensley used to go to the meat locker all the time. We still do once in a while, but I mean, we went there one time 4 days out of the 5 in a week.
Really?
It's way too much.
That's
I said, Marty, we have a problem here.
That's awesome. Hey, you don't even have to go there and order any food. You can just go there and bring your own cigar and sit there and enjoy it.
It's great to see. I mean, see everybody who knows anybody's around the Angus Barn. I mean, that's when I remember when I was in college. The rumor was that political deals would happen. People would fly into the airport, which is right there. They'd meet at Angus Barn for their meeting, then they'd go back to the airport, fly away.
Right.
So it's more of a destination type place, and it takes years to develop that kind of camaraderie with the public, I think.
Right. And it just takes a lot of employees and people that I work with that really care and that know how to treat people right, because you can have the greatest building in the world, but if you don't treat people right, you have nothing really.
You've had employees that have been with you for a long, long time.
I've had so many in the 20-year club that we couldn't fit them all into one room for the party. So I'm very blessed with the employees.
Now, one of the things people may not realize, you have something called the wine cellar downstairs, and you've got 2 private dining rooms down there. One fits almost 40 people, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
We built those rooms because we won an award that put us on the map internationally, where there's only 86 restaurants in the world that actually have it. It's called the Wine Spectator Grand Award. And then everyone was coming in, they said, "Oh, we want to see your cellar because we've heard you won this great award." And we just had a basement full of boxes. And so we said, "Oh, I think we need to build a cellar that matches the award that we won." So that's how that came about.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Now the wine cellar down there is one of the largest, I know in the state, but in the southeast.
It is the second largest in the country. Burns is first, and it is the only time in my life that I am okay with being second, because I've been to Burns. I love Burns. I love their wine cellar, but I just don't want their inventory.
Oh man, I went to Burns one time with Todd Schnitt, who's a radio show host, had me, and that's where he's located, had me to Burns. I hadn't heard of it. And when he took me down that wine cellar, that's the largest wine cellar I've ever seen. It goes on and on and on. I can only imagine what the inventory cost is on there.
On and on.
What do you think their insurance is for all that wine?
I don't know.
Now, tell me, you've done a lot of work with charity over the years, and you've championed that a lot. I went to a Boy Scout event one time over in the pavilion.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I went that day because I won a lot of things in the auction, and so I ended up bringing up a lot of stuff. So I helped the Boy Scouts out a lot more than I even planned to.
That was great.
But tell me about the vision that you had to add on, because I mean you've always been full in the restaurant, then you added to the pavilion, and for years we've gone there for Thanksgiving dinner. It's been the greatest thing ever.
Right. Well, we had that land down there. My father actually had it zoned to be a little boutique hotel, because at that time there was really no hotels in the area. So we really had been getting so many requests for large groups.
Yep.
I'm talking groups of like over 200, which the only room we had in the Angus Barn was the upstairs dining room that could seat maybe 180, and we could only book that maybe on Sunday night. So we realized what people really needed was a space to have events.
Yep.
So then we had to go through the rezoning process, which that took forever to get it rezoned, and then we decided to use a lot of my dad's old, like just stuff, building materials, trusses, 10 old stones that he had collected to do all the Daryl's restaurants.
Ah, I remember the Daryl's.
Those were his, and so he had warehouses full of just stuff that was going to be used to build the next Daryl. So we used most of that stuff in building the pavilion. We wanted it to be a space where people could enjoy huge groups of whatever kind, corporate, weddings, rehearsal, dinners, picnics, company groups of all kinds. So we really didn't know what we were doing because when we first did it, because we were used to serving meals, individual meals. We're not used to serving 400 people at one time.
That's a lot of, that takes a talent too. You have to have a big kitchen for that.
It has to be hot. You don't want to store it like in warming ovens. You want it to be fresh off the grill. So, people know the difference in that. And so it took us a while to really get that concept down and figure it out. And we learn every day. We learn every time we do something.
Yeah, and I've gone to group events at your place, and everything comes out like you were individually ordering it. But most people, when they think of a group event, they think of the cold, soggy kind of buns and the maybe the chicken that's not really tender, and the rubber chicken that's coldish, warmish kind of thing. But you did a real good job on this.
Actually prep everything upstairs in the regular Angus Barn, but we grill it off, cook everything off down at the pavilion,
and that's what makes it so good.
Right before it comes to the table.
Now, tell me about growing up in the restaurant family, because your dad had Daryl's, right?
Yes.
And so let's talk about Daryl. Daryl's, when I used to go to the one in Durham, because I went to school in Chapel Hill, so the one right down Chapel Hill Boulevard, in between Chapel Hill and Durham. I go there all the time. My buddy Skip Dyer, I don't know if you know that name, he was a manager and of Daryl's. I didn't know him back then, but I wish I did. I wish I would have. I might have got some free food, but I didn't know him then. But the whole restaurant was designed like an amusement park to me. Like I used to sit in the Ferris wheel chair.
Right.
Did your dad do that for you? Did he build it like an amusement park?
No, he did it because he loved to collect old things. And he had this huge collection of old things. In fact, the Ferris wheel chair that you talked about, we've turned that into a table that you can sit in our saloon. And next time you come in, I'm going to show you that chair.
I want to see that.
It is a very cool little table. But he had all of these things that he just collected because he loved collecting stuff like that. Sometimes he would go to junkyard sales and just say, I'll take everything you got. What will it take for me to just take everything off your hands? So he had it in warehouses, and he went to a Pizza Inn on Hillsborough Street, which was actually the first Daryl's. It was owned by a guy named Daryl Davis. All the students of NC State would just call it, let's go to Daryl's place. So he was sitting in there and he said, this building could really hold about twice as many people if we just put a level here and put this here and did this here. So he met with the owner, Daryl, and they said, okay. He said, okay, well, let's do this together. So then it was no longer a Pizza Inn. Now it became Daryl's, and they named it after him, thinking there'd never be more than one.
Wow.
And when it was so successful, then they built more and
I remember
more
that Daryl's. That was a fun Daryl's to go to.
Yes.
I knew a lot of people at State back in the day, so that's where we'd always go, over to Daryl's.
Now, next time you come to the barn, I'm going to walk you around and show you all the things from Daryl's that are in the Angus Barn.
That'd be neat to see.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, you do a lot of great work with charity, and you have something called the Walk for Hope, and it's coming up right shortly here, October 9th. Right. Tell me about that.
Well, it started because my brother suffers from a series of mental illnesses, schizophrenia, bipolar, obsessive compulsive, just all kinds of things. But when he was first not even diagnosed, when all of this first started happening, nobody knew one thing. Every single hospital that my parents would take him to all over the country would say, we don't know anything about mental illness. We know more about tooth decay. We know more about everything. We just don't know mental illness. We don't have no money's been invested in studying, researching these and what causes it and what can prevent this.
Right.
So my father, after finally, he was a make things happen kind of guy, and he wasn't used to somebody saying, we can't fix this. And so my father, in his incredible way, he just said, well, you know what, if my son has to be this sick, then I am going to do something where I can make a difference for other families maybe in the future where they wouldn't have to go through what this has been. So he and my mother started the Foundation of Hope.
Okay.
Then when my father passed away, all of the employees of the Angus Barn who adored him, they started the Walk for Hope to raise money for the cause that he loved the most, which was research and treatment for mental illness.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
So it was started by the employees of the Angus Barn.
That's really neat. That tells you a lot about the ownership if the employees do something like that.
Yes, and we never dreamed there'd even be another walk. We just thought that would be the walk, and it was so popular and people had such a good time, so then it grew. And now we're on our 34th, coming up our 34th annual walk. Now for the last 2 years we haven't been able to have it. We have had a drive-through. So we are so excited to be able to have the walk again. But it used to be a 10K. That 10K people would come back from, they would be like exhausted because you got to go up that huge hill on Highway 70, enter in through Olmsted Park, go around. So we changed to a 5K. You still go through Olmsted Park. It's a beautiful walk. But we also turned it into a festival so that people that didn't feel like walking could just come and just have an incredible day. There's stuff to do all over the place. And we have the Embers.
Yeah, the Embers. I remember them from college.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same guys. I think the band stayed alive, though.
Well, one of them, the drummer, is still the same.
Wow.
But a lot of them have just evolved into the group, but it's the Embers.
Do you remember the Beach Music Festival? The one at Emerald Isle? I remember seeing them down there. They would come to Chapel Hill a lot. They would come to my apartment complex and play back in the day.
they're still really great.
Wow, it's pretty neat. So how can people find out about the Walk for Hope?
So all you have to do is go online to walkforhope.com, or you can just call 919-781-WALK. Or you can just Google it. You can sign up. The sign-up process is so easy online, and you pay just one amount just to get in for everything that you do the whole day. But the purpose is that you try to get people to, sponsor you to raise money.
Yeah.
We
did that back in school. I remember that people would sign up per mile, or they would give a certain amount of money, and I would punish them because I'd stay out there because I knew I had people paying per mile.
Right. And you can also get teams together and
that's neat.
And come as a team, and it's just the day is really just from start to finish one of the most fun days.
And you have shuttle buses too, don't you? So people don't park at the Angus Barn. You've got signs telling them where to park, and you have buses running every 5 minutes or so, you said, because that's one thing people hate when they go to events is these shuttle buses may become once every half hour or maybe 45 minutes.
No, that's
inconsistency. People don't like that.
That's a huge ordeal for us. But see, there's 3,000 people that come to this.
That's a lot of people.
So, and we're expecting more this year, so we can't really park on site. So we have a place really not far from the barn, but we do have these great shuttle buses where you have a hospitality host on the bus. Like you're arriving at Disney and they're telling you what you're getting ready to see.
That's neat.
And so the minute you enter, there's music and just all kinds of fun things going on. We have a 5K run that kicks off at 9, then the walk kicks off at 10, and then the food is, I could be arrested if I didn't serve decent food at the Walk for Hope because it's the Angus Barn. So we do burgers and.
Those turkey wings are really good, by the way.
Yes, those turkey wings.
You can get filled up with one of those things.
For the turkey lounge, right?
Yeah, that's right. I love those things. All right, so then the website is walkforhope.com.
Yes.
That's Sunday, October 9th.
Yes.
Her name is Van Eure. She's the owner of the Angus Barn. And Van, thanks for having us. Thanks for having the time to share with us today.
Thank you so much for helping to promote this cause. It means so much to me and my family.
Walkforhope.com, folks.
Yes.
We'll be right back after this.